When the anxious and the avoidant attachment get together, they start dating, they follow the most classic and predictable cycles. In fact, if you're not in that relationship and you're extracted out of it and you are watching two people, one anxious and one avoidant, dating each other, it's so predictable it's almost comical about what's going to happen. It's literally like watching a car crash in slow motion. You can see it happening and you know exactly what needs to happen in order for this relationship not to collide and not to crash into each other. In the early phases of dating, that's when everything's going good. They're moving and shaking, they're cooking with gas, they're both feeling good. And the main reason for this is that in the early phase of dating, there's no risk, there's no requirement for vulnerability. Their insecure attachments aren't activated, so they can both relax and be fun and be playful. In the early phase of dating, the avoidant attachment gives the anxious attachment everything that they didn't get growing up. They're consistent, they're reliable, they give them physical touch, they compliment them, they bring them up. And this makes the anxious person feel good about themselves. They feel validated, they feel reassured, they're feeling great. And the anxious person, they give the avoidant person everything that they were neglected of growing up. They're listening to them, they're empathetic, they're understanding, they see them for who they truly are. They reassure the avoidant. So the avoidant feels like they're not going to get neglected. They are getting everything that they didn't get growing up, and this is amazing for them. So this creates amazing chemistry, sparks, butterflies in the stomach. They both feel validated and reassured. They are loving life. But everything turns the moment the relationship gets serious. When the anxious person pulls the avoidant into the deep end of the relationship, that's when shit hits the fan. The avoidance attachment system gets activated. Their fears come to the surface. The fear of commitment, vulnerability, intimacy, being left, being neglected. Everything comes to the surface and they start to unconsciously worry. They start second guessing the relationship. They don't think the anxious person is for them. And so energetically they withdraw. Instead of dealing with these problems, instead of expressing what's going on, they just withdraw. They pull back, they become inconsistent. And this activates the anxious attachment. The anxious attachment starts to worry. They feel anxious. Energetically, they can feel the avoidant pulling back, and this just reinforces and brings to the surface all the beliefs and insecurities they have about themselves and the relationship. They believe no one will ever love them, no one will ever stay with them, no one's ever consistent. And that's exactly what they're getting. So in that moment of anxiety, they need reassurance and validation. And the only way they know how to do that and get that is by focusing on the other person and getting it from them. So they come forward and they come closer to the avoidant. They try and get this reassurance and validation from them, but not knowing that they are actually taking away the one thing that the avoidant person needs, which is space, independence, freedom. And so the avoidant person gets more activated, so they withdraw even more. And this cycle perpetuates and continues over and over and over again until they're both emotionally drained and someone ends the relationship. The relationship normally ends for a little while until there's a reconciliation. They come back together, they're so excited, they're passionate, they can feel the chemistry, they follow the early phase of dating again, until they get drawn into the deep end and things become serious. And then this cycle repeats over and over and over again. The only way this relationship can work is if both people take radical responsibility for the insecurities they bring into the relationship and are projecting onto the other person. If they don't, they will both follow the same predictable, unconscious patterns that are keeping them both stuck and in a lot of pain. So if you're in this sort of relationship dynamic, it is so important to bring awareness to your patterns, to your insecurities, to your traumas, to the way that you behave and operate in a relationship, to your triggers, to your needs, to the way that you communicate, the boundaries that you don't set. It's important to bring awareness to these things. And once you have awareness, you need to have the courage to break them. You need to choose a new behavior, because if you don't, you're just going to choose the same old behavior unconsciously and reinforce the same insecurities, the same unhealthy dynamics, and reinforce the same painful relationships.